Hello. So, welcome to my 3x3 sliding door build. I'm doing it like this because it makes it a lot easier to see, but I color-coded all the blocks that have to be solid blocks, as well as glass blocks and everything that can be and cannot be the other. So, magenta has to be a solid block. It cannot be glass, it cannot be glowstone, it cannot be anything quote unquote transparent. So everything magenta you see has to be a solid block. Now everything light green is capable of being glass, but doesn't have to be. So that's why I labeled this as glass, because it still works with the glass in the wall here. Not that you have to do that. Now, red glass has to be glass. There's only one of those blocks in there, so it's quite easy to spot it. It's right here, next to that piston, so this doesn't power that piston. Otherwise, you will create an endless cycle over there, and it's not fun. The orange blocks are just the door blocks. They're for nothing else. That's the closing. Very simple. Sideways triple regular piston extender. Now, the opening is a bit more tricky because you have to retract the pistons back, which is basically a triple piston extender with blocks attached. That also cannot touch anything in this 3x3 corridor. Now, you posted it from the outside of your base. This, I presume, would be the outside. The input device over here, it's just a simple lever. So as long as you power this block, you'll be fine. You can also place the torch on a block right there and then power that from below. It doesn't really matter as long as there is a torch right there and in this space that you can power. So I've powered it with a lever, but you can use a T flip-flop or anything that you would like. Now, it is a pretty tricky build, so I am gonna tick freeze and I'm gonna explain what goes on when. So, freeze. Once I pull that lever, this redstone torch will power on. So, step 2. As you can see, it will also power these back 3 pistons. This also only works in Java Edition. You, I think, indicated that it was Java Edition, but just in case, I should mention it here. After that, it powers this repeater and powers the next one, the next piston. So you can see that right there. And then this piston should be powered and it should be closed. Now you might have also noticed this torch with this piston, which has an observer, which basically means that if this one turns on, this piston retracts. And the reason that's useful is because... Okay, let me just finish that. If I re-pull the lever, all of this will turn off again, and this one will extend like that. Now, it might be a little bit hard to see, but this will power this. Like, yeah, no, you can definitely see that. Then it will power this repeater, which powers this comparator. Now this crafter is set to 4 ticks. I think I can do 5 ticks actually. Hold on, let me check. Sorry, tick, unfreeze. No, it has to be 4. Okay. Okay, so this is where we were. This will in turn power this repeater, which will power this comparator set to subtract mode. The reason why that is because this has 4 power. So this redstone is powered with level 4 power. And that means that this comparator gives a lower output. Now, I wanted to make it as low as possible without breaking the system, which makes it a lot faster. You can forgo this, but it will just be slower, and you basically don't want that. You can replace this with a composter, which has 4 levels in it, or anything else that can output level 4. Make sure that this is a block so that this doesn't also get subtracted or turn off entirely, because that basically just makes that useless. Then you can see it enters the comparator circuit over here. It is just a pulse extender. So while this is on, this redstone torch is off, which causes this to just not be extended. And then as soon as it turns off, again, this redstone torch will power this piston, which causes this observer to power this piston, which makes this observer repower this circuit again, because this one will spit out its block, and then it'll give a pulse, which re-enters this signal again. So if I show that later, it might be a little bit more clear. Now, what happens first is this piston extends because of the pulse extender. It powers this redstone line, which both powers this piston using this redstone and this piston using this one. You can also just put a jukebox right here, but it's literally just more expensive and there's no reason to do that. And that will, in turn, power those pistons, which will pull back these observers. Now, you might notice, well, these observers don't power anything over here. That's true, but these observers do detect that the observer is no longer there. So it will output a signal, right? There, to that one, to that one, which will power this juke or note block, and this hopper right here. And the same happens over here. It will power this note block and this note block. Now, the reason why I didn't put a note block up here is because it's loud and you have to silence it with string. This one has to be a jukebox or a dropper or dispenser, but those also make noise. So I don't see the point in doing that. So I basically just made these hoppers to indicate, well, that way they're silent without the string on top. This one, though, has to be a note block. It cannot be a hopper, because otherwise it will not power the hopper next to it. In turn, that will power the middle pistons first. And you might ask, why the middle pistons first? Well, that's just because it basically allows me to do stuff later with the same circuit. Because I have to repower this one to pull these back later. And I'm using the same circuit to do so. It saves me on space. A lot of it, actually. So next, these observers will have traveled all the way over here. And do nothing, basically. Same story here. The reason why you do that is because it helps us later. Now, it reactivates, and when the circuit reactivates by this one unextending, so when this one turns off, it also powers this system. Which when it reactivates, it powers this hopper, or note block in this case, down here, which will trigger these observers, which will trigger the back pistons. So you're going to see that now. And at the same exact time, it will have powered this one, or this one too, via these observers, which power these blocks. These blocks have to be solid blocks again. Otherwise, it won't power the pistons and it will break your door. Now you can already see another pulse coming through over here, which will power this one, which will power this, which will power this, which will trigger the middle pistons right here. And then you see this, after it triggers this one powers this one, which powers these pistons. And then right after, it will trigger the same exact circuit again and re-pull back these blocks. Now, here's another cycle. So it starts all over again. It starts with this one, which does nothing. Then it powers these pistons, which pull back these pistons. Then these re-extend, powering this hopper again, which powers the back pistons, which pulls back these pistons. And at the same time, this circuit again triggers these pistons, so it will also pull back those glass blocks in the same tick. Now, as a final bit, it will trigger this once again. And then one more over here, which triggers these pistons, which pulls back the glass blocks in their place. That's basically the entire circuit. I will make a different video for the entirety of the hopper layout or the observer layout because it's more confusing, but you said you wanted an explanation instead of a tutorial. You can follow this video to see where the observers all are supposed to face. It's just simply a line extending from here to here to here. This one is observed by this one. This one is observed by this one and this one. This one is observing this one and powering this. So if I remove that, you can see it right there. This one is looking at that one. This one is looking at that one and powering this one. And then at the bottom, we have basically an identical circuit, just a different side, because this one was on top first, but I just moved it down so it saved a layer on top. So you can see right here, this one is looking at this one, this one is looking at this one, this one at this one, and this one is looking at that note block. Then this observer is looking at that, and then these are quite obvious, they're all powering the pistons. This one is looking at that one, this one is looking at that one, this one at that one, and powering the pistons here. And then we have one more over here looking at this one, which powers these pistons once they're here. And that's basically the entire circuit. I hope this helps. If you really need it, I will make a world download available if I can get to that. But yeah, good luck with building this thing.